What we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be going through different polls from different swing states and looking who leads in the polls, and then I'm going to talk about what I think of each individual state. So first I'm going to begin with a state. I'm going to begin with the Trump approval rating poll. So I just want to go through the 6 months to see how the past 6 months have behaved with him. So we saw in December he was very disapproved. um December of, was that 19? Yeah, November's early December. So then we saw like how February, like he started gaining a lot of he was getting better liked. We see like an average increase, right? Which has been unseen in this presidency. But then as soon as like people how he became perceived because of the pandemic, you saw a lot of the going down, and now you see there's like a big disapproval here. 50 to 40, that's like a 6 point, almost 7 point deficit in approval for Donald Trump. So definitely I think Donald Trump was getting closer to winning the election, but now I think all the hard work that he put into the last couple of years, from becoming disapproved by 10 points to now just being disapproved by about 5, um all the hard work, it's been thrown out the window with this. So I just wanted to take a look at the latest polls that we've seen. So here's the job approval poll. So the last couple of days, so we can say that mostly it's been like -5 from CNN, -6 from Rasmussen, um, +2 from this one. I don't think that's very accurate. -8, -5. So yeah, we're looking about the average. The so our average is -5.6, meaning that Donald Trump will have a little bit of a harder time getting elected because of his job approval. So let's go to our first state of Wisconsin. There are not many polls from here, but nonetheless, we can take a look at it. So I think here in the state of Wisconsin, we can see it's about 3 plus 3 Biden, +3, and +2. So here's the thing. The polls are usually a lot in favor to the Democrats. They're a little bit more, they overestimate the Democrats oftentimes more than they overestimate Republicans. So for this, we can see that the margin of error is 4%, 2.4%. So let's average it out around 3. We apply that to the average. Donald Trump, Wisconsin is at reach. As I said, Wisconsin is the least likely state to flip back to the Democrats, simply because of, first of all, they overestimate the Democrats in these states. Plus, you see they're in within the margin of error. These polls are usually correct when it comes to the margin of error. They are usually in the margin of error, whether it be plus or minus. But we can see that this state is currently in the margin of error. Going to have the state of this is general election polling. So we saw how it was a 10-point lead back in November. Oopsies. Okay, back in November it was a here. Let's look at the graph. November it was around a 10-point lead for Biden. It narrowed up as soon as you got to December, late December, like oh, how do I undo that? Whoopsies. Okay. We'll go back to this. But we can see, oh, let's go reset max. There we go. So we are gonna see how this election has tightened up. December became closer when it came time to campaign for Iowa caucus. January, so this Iowa caucus time around here. So you see how first they both increase, but Joe Biden's lead increased more. It was originally where it was like 10 points. But then Donald Trump had gained a lot of ground. So that was like 50 to, how much was that? 45. So then we saw both candidates have had a downward trend. This favors Joe Biden since he's a little bit on top right now. So we can see here on the averages. So there's not been a point where Donald Trump has held the lead in general nationwide. So 4.4% for Biden right now. I'm guessing if you average out margins of error, that's around almost like a 3. Let's margin it out like a 3.5. It's the nationwide polling, which actually should not be considered for any method, because it contains states that might vote heavily for one party or the other. Nationwide, if you applied like an average margin of error, which I'll say, which is about 3.5% to the overall RCP average, it would be 4.4. So it would be like a point for Biden, still in favor if you applied it in the best case scenario according to the polls. Okay, now moving on to our next state, the state of Florida. So the state of Florida, it has gotten some reasonable polls. It's been 4 polls in the last month. So we can see that Joe Biden has a lead here. But I think what we can see a trend going, it's been narrowing down for him. And I think this is true. Usually with Florida, we've seen in the past one party is leading constantly in the polls for a long time. It then happens to be that the other party just comes and takes ahead. So that's usually what happens. And we saw that in 2012 a little bit with Mitt Romney. And we've seen that in many elections. So we can see Biden plus 6. That was in March. And then you see Biden plus 4 and Biden plus 3. This one is literally, margin of error is literally simply even. It could be tie if it was to the margin of error. This one could have gone 1.3 to Trump. So I'm going to say that the actual average should be a little bit less. And I think they overestimate the Democrats again in these polls because I don't think they're polling in the areas that vote heavily Republican. I understand that some polls are very even, but some of them are not, and that's why you can have some outlier polls. Okay, next state, Michigan. So the state of Michigan is actually a pretty impressive lead for Joe Biden. With the polls taken over the last 2 months, so it would be March and April, we have Biden plus 7, Biden plus 4, Biden plus 3, Biden plus 8. So that gives us a spread of plus 5.5 for Biden. And if you average out a margin of error that's around 3.5%, we can see you still could have, it's in reach for Donald Trump, but you're going to have to put a lot of hard work. And I say this and Pennsylvania are the 2 closest states and the most likely to go to the to the Democrats. And these are the hardest for the Republicans to keep in their column. Now, the state of Pennsylvania, same thing. We're going to see the same kind of average, about a 6.5 lead, where we have the last couple polls, or the last 4 polls, we have a constant lead plus 6, plus 8, plus 6, with a margin of error of almost 4%. That's a big margin of error, but still, apply that margin of error, and we have Donald Trump losing by 2 points about. So, looking at these polls, I can say the state of Pennsylvania is looking like a safer deal for the Democrats, but it doesn't mean that Donald Trump does not have a chance, because certainly all the states that have been close in the polls, I think less than 8%, they realistically have a shot for either candidate, although it might be a long shot, but it's still a possibility. It's not like saying Democrats will win Wyoming. It's more like a Republicans won Ohio type of scenario, because they could have gone to anyone, but it was favoring a lot more to the Republicans. Now, looking at the North Carolina, so there's been a couple polls taken, and I would say that, first of all, this poll's probably an outlier, simply because of I don't think the plus 7 rating is as accurate, but even if you consider that in, the Democrats have, they're losing by a deficit of 0.3 points. This race, I see it being kind of close, but I think it could really go either way, because it's plus 1 and plus 5 for the Democrats, which this one, it could be 5.5 margin of error, so that could put that Trump in the red, and that could give the Democrats red, and then here also puts Democrats in a loss. So, and then this one, if you put it, it's even worse for the Democrats. But if you apply these margin of errors, that would give them about 2.3. This one would give them, you see, the margins are there for them. For both parties, the state of North Carolina is in play, and we can see, well, Trump won it by 3.7%, Romney by 2.2%, and then Obama plus 0.3%. We see a Republican trend. We don't know if this is going to happen, but we also must consider Joe Biden, although he might be part of the Obama administration, he may not be super popular with the African American community, because he is simply not Obama. He was part of Obama's administration, and I think maybe the safe bet where the Biden campaign is thinking, oh, we're going to overperform Hillary Clinton with the black vote, which it certainly can, but remember, Hillary Clinton lost the election simply because she underperformed with the African American vote in different areas of the Midwest. The next thing we're going to talk about is Arizona. I think Arizona is becoming like a done deal for the Democratic Party. And I think, look, the last couple of polls taken with, we can say the margin of error is nearing about 3%. 2.3% is the margin of error. So looking at the margin of error, I can see easily either party winning, but I think the Democrats are more. I think if the Democrats pull it off well, which I think they will, unless something if unless Donald Trump goes back, and I think Donald Trump has the capacity to go. He's capable of turning back the election because I've seen he's a very he's an amazing politician. Maybe some people wouldn't agree with his ideals and things like that, but Donald Trump's way of campaign revolutionized the 2016 primaries, and don't be surprised if the Democrats lose by a slight margin just because of that. So yeah, here in the state of Arizona, we can see plus 4.4 as an average, and we can see if we apply the 3, it will give him 1 point in the blue for the Democrats, and then these polls, most of them show like it's about 9, and then there's 1 point, so it's very unbalanced. So we're gonna have to get more polling data from there to do a bigger analysis. And last but not least, we have the state of Minnesota. So Minnesota has not taken a poll since October of last year. And I kind of agree with this poll that's going to be, although it might not be recent, but this poll has Biden winning by 12 points, and I think that could easily happen. And I think right now it's looking as like it's the vice presidency running mate candidate is looking to either be Amy Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, or Stacey Abrams. If they go with someone like Kamala Harris or someone like Amy Klobuchar, I think this state will be wrapped up probably like in a 15-point margin. That may be kind of crazy saying that Obama won it by 10. So if you have someone from the home state, someone super popular, and kind of a very conservative Democrat, you're going to see that happen. So overall, we're going to see our national average at 4.4%. Our battlegrounds are almost all favoring Donald Trump. And yeah, so today, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe to this video. And please join the Patreon link down below if you want to support our channel as we continue to grow Purple Political Talk. I want to thank all of you for watching and have a great day.